So I think we have a problem on this show where we keep talking about franchises that maybe shouldn't be franchises.
Yeah, I think you're right. Now, everyone, let's sit down and talk about 12 films.
Halloween night, a small American town, 15 years ago. Michael? Halloween.
I don't know if I'm gonna put this in the episode, but are we gonna talk? We're talking about the Rob Zombie ones too, right?
Oh, yeah, we're talking about all of them.
Fuck yeah.
So I'm trying to think of how many. Oh, man, it might be more than that. Um,
It's too many.
we're around 11 or 12, I think.
Oh my god.
11 or 12 films.
Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to the Waffle Press Retrospectives. Your host Diego Crespo. With me as always is Matt Garingo.
Hello.
We're here to talk about a very special little horror movie. Well, a franchise, but the first one's very special. John Carpenter's Halloween.
Yep.
It's a very good movie.
Have you heard of it?
But why is it such a good movie, Matt? In fact, let's talk about the first times we discovered this very good movie. How old were you?
Probably like 8, because I had a very irresponsible parent. As I've mentioned on this show, I'm not sure. This was definitely one though where I was aware of it for a couple years before I actually saw it. I heard the legend of Halloween and how scary it was, and then I watched it and it was pretty scary. So it's just a creepy movie. He's always outside those windows in this. I remember that as a kid. That was the stuff that scared me. Was you could like see him in the window and then he'd be gone. There's my academic analysis of what makes Halloween scary.
I was a little older. I think I was like a freshman or sophomore in high school when
Mm.
I first saw this. And then I kind of hopped around with the sequels because they'd be like on TBS for whatever reason. Do you remember that?
I don't remember TBS. I remember AMC every year would show all of them every Halloween.
Okay, maybe it wasn't TBS, but the TBS showed like one horror franchise on there for whatever reason.
Mm.
I never understood why, but it might be Halloween, it might be not. If anyone knows who's listening to this,
Maybe they did it later.
please let me know.
I'm talking about middle school years, so
Ah, uh-huh.
that's when I think I saw the whole franchise. Um, Although I'm not sure if I've actually ever seen Halloween 6. Because
That's the curse of Michael Myers,
the
right?
Curse of Michael Myers.
Okay.
Because that's one's boring, but
Yeah,
uh,
just that one.
well, no, actually, we'll get into it. But I think there's something to say about all of them. And 6, there's something to say about how colossally fucked up the whole production of that was. But uh,
Oh yeah, there's two versions of that. That's like this franchise's Alien 3.
oh yeah, there's like except it'd be like if there were two versions of Alien 3 and they were both Alien 4. It's not. They're neither are worth a shit. But we'll get into that.
Yeah.
Uh,
So yeah, I was a little older. It didn't scare me when I was watching it, but it had this weird effect on me where it creeped me out. Like it made me kind of walk around my house at night a little like more uncertain. You know,
yeah.
the darkness felt a little creepier. And that's odd. Or maybe it's because I live in Southern California and I know exactly the streets where it was filmed on.
Yeah, that are you telling me this didn't fool you for Illinois?
Nope.
The clearly green trees and the schools with doors on the outside of the classrooms. Uh, Illinois, that hot weather where you can do all that. Um, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Well, it didn't scare me like another horror film which I'll bring up later did. Uh But it did creep me out. I think the reason why maybe it didn't scare me is because of another neglectful parent in my life, who did not have that many cable stations as a child when I was a kid. So instead of watching cartoons, I watched shows about how serial killers are caught.
Oh,
Yeah. The prosecutors, they used to reenact all the crimes on that one.
oh no.
Yeah, that's fun.
Oh, sounds like it, I guess.
So I learned about Charles Ng and Leonard Lake when I was about 8, and you might not know who they are, but the people who do are now sitting back going like, "Holy shit!" And I will not explain who they are any further. Uh, so I think that maybe tempered me on the idea of guy coming to kill you. Uh, but that it was different, a different culture for when this came out because Halloween actually predates the term serial killer. It wasn't a term that was widely. I don't know if it had even been coined by the time the film came out. It definitely wasn't widely used. But the 70s was the golden age of serial killers, if you can call something like that a golden age.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Yeah, I don't know if that's the proper terminology,
I
but
mean,
I get what you're saying.
we got Zodiac, Son of Sam, Ted Bundy. They were all running around this time. I think Son of Sam was caught like immediately before this. What an asshole! He said his dog told him to kill people.
Jesus.
Yeah. Uh, and I think I should mention something before we go any further because I had like all this stuff set up, and then I listened to another Halloween podcast, and they kind of talk about exactly what I wanted to talk about.
Oh,
So I'm gonna repeat a lot of what they said, but I don't want to sound like I just took it from them. But I want to give them credit because it's a good podcast. It's called Halloween Unmasked. It's a really good. It's ongoing. I think they're only like 4 episodes in, 3 or 4. And 3 talks about a lot of the stuff I kind of wanted to talk about.
do you want to just bring it up casually or just go
No, no.
get it
Well,
all the
I'm
way?
gonna get into it right now, actually.
Oh, okay.
And the other thing I'll bring up is there's a great like 50-minute video by Nick Spheres on YouTube. I think I've mentioned her on other episodes of this. She makes good videos about horror films and analysis, and there'll definitely be some overlap with stuff she mentions, but I will try to avoid too much. And you should check out both those things for more in-depth discussion. I don't think another podcast would tell you to listen to another podcast um, in the middle of it, but that's what I just did. Uh, the only one thing I will not be talking about is I won't be talking about phallic symbols represented by knives
Okay.
because I don't fuck that. That's the one place I don't go. Read Men, Women, and Chainsaws, and then I'll have Shannon yell at you. um, but I think it's important to know that this is like kind of the early age of serial killing when this was going on. Well, one thing I just would like I think it's important to know because let's just a serial killer who was caught around this time was a guy named Ed. I think I just know Ed Kemper, who was recently popularized by the show Mindhunter, which is on Netflix right now. That's what that show's called, right?
Yeah, the David Fincher one.
Yeah, the guy I'm talking about is the very charismatic, tall, fat guy who everyone was
I
like,
haven't seen it yet,
"Oh, all right, he's a serial
but
killer," and
I
then
heard it's very good.
he's the best part of it. Series is kind of but it's fine. Ed Kemper needs to be brought up because he was caught in '73 after he killed a bunch of co-eds and then his mother. He did some creepy. I won't go into exactly what he did. The important thing that he did was when he was a child, killed his grandparents because he wanted to see what it would be like.
Uh,
And he was sent away, and then they let him out, and that's when he became a serial killer. Which reminds us of a certain guy we're talking about today. Um, and I wonder if that had any influence on John Carpenter. Uh, Another guy who I thought of as a more recent killer, but I think fits Michael Myers more uh, accurately is a guy named Charlie Brandt, who in 1971 walked into his house. He was a child, and he shot his father and his pregnant mother, and was going to shoot his sister, but the gun jammed. And then the sister kind of talked him down, and then he said, "What did I do?" And the father actually lived through it. The mother died, unfortunately. This Charlie Brandt got help, and by all accounts, he went on to live a normal life until 2004, when he spent the night at his, I believe it was his niece or sister-in-law's place with his wife during a hurricane. He spent the night there, uh, and then no one heard from him for a couple days. So someone went to investigate. The door was locked, so they called the police. And when they came inside, they found the bodies of all three of them. Charlie had killed his wife, his sister-in-law, and then killed himself. And what makes it even creepier is that the way he killed his sister-in-law or niece, I'm sorry for not remembering that, matched a bunch of unsolved killings from the area, which he was later linked to.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh no, this is wow. That's really fucked up.
yeah, I kind of wanted to give some examples of guys who go away and then don't get better, and then get out and do worse things, which is a thing that happens. Uh, Also, I should point out, John Carpenter read the book The Mask of Sanity, which is a book, one of the first books about psychopathy. Um, and I believe that's the book where, when they were originally studying, I think I've told this anecdote back on the Hannibal shows, but when they first did clinical studies of psychopaths, a guy turned it in to an academic journal, and it got rejected. And the response was, these results could not have come from human beings. And that's what psychopaths are.
Oh,
They don't operate like normal people, which I that might be a bit strong for me to say because people disagree on how much psychopaths can be helped. So far, there's no known cure to psychopathy. But John Carpenter read that, and I think that's a little important. The book was published in 1941. Also, The Mask of Sanity. Eh?
yeah,
Eh?
ha ha. That ties into the opening and the rest of the movie.
Yeah, we'll talk about masks more in a minute. Um, but I think that's I think that's important to know.
It's important background context for the filmmakers.
Yes,
Yeah.
just the culture we were in at the time, because this is when the country really shifted from monsters being the enemy, and a brief Satan was the enemy for a bit in the early 70s, thanks to The Exorcist, and this is when it kind of shifts to human beings.
A couple things. One, cultural context in which a movie was made is important. Some people want to pretend like it's just a movie is just a movie, and there's absolutely nothing else to it. For everyone who thinks that, 99.99% of the time you're going to be wrong. Like that's just a fact. Movies are impacted by a lot. The people that make them, the culture they're made in, and the people that produce them, and the people who watch them. It's a whole bunch of factors. That's why film criticism is an important thing to help us recontextualize things and to keep these conversations alive. And two, you've brought up an interesting point a couple shows ago about very overproduced horror movies. Like nowadays, if you see a trailer for a horror movie right off the bat, not just because it's a horror movie trailer, you can tell by the look, the sound,
Yes.
the act. You know what you're getting into. For something like Halloween, you kind of, if you just getting clips of the daytime sequences with Laurie Strode and her friends, you do not really get that sense. I mean that in a good way. Like it feels lived in the world of Halloween with Laurie, her friends, and specifically the nighttime sequences. But that's when it's like pure terror. So that's doesn't really work with my example here.
It takes a little while before the oppressive night of Halloween becomes truly terrifying.
Yeah, I had forgotten how vicious it was. I don't think I ever realized like just how perfect of a movie this is.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
you kind of know. Like it's just one of those things where it's like, yeah, it's one of the greats. But it's never something I really went back to time and time again. I think, honest to God, this might be the first time it fully clicked with me. Like 100%, every little moment registered with me and haunts me. And I was just kind of like completely glued to my screen, just like forgot about the outside world. Kind of caught myself catching my breath every once in a while. And so I had a lot of fun revisiting this. And fucking John Carpenter can make a movie.
Yeah, man. That's why he's the best.
He might be up there. He's top five for me.
He's
Like
my
at least
he's my favorite.
that's perfectly understandable. I mean,
Mm.
well, we'll talk about it some other day probably, but like he kind of trails off a little bit, and that's not always entirely his fault.
It's not always his
But
fault, but he also did a really good episode of Masters of Horror that I think is really underrated, and that's like really towards the end of his career.
I need to watch. I know which one you're talking about. I need to watch it.
Cigarette Burns. It's really good.
Yeah. But back to Halloween. The opening. One, did this inspire the opening of Manhunter? And two, is that a microcosm of the entire movie experience you are about to watch?
And three, what inspired this opening, which I think is another
Everything,
important, which I think is another important thing. I'm not.
everything you talked about, but I feel like you have something else.
I do have something else. There's a film. You know what? This is where I'm bad at doing this show. I was gonna like double check and look up like other POV shots in films. I actually have that written down on my notes to do, and I just never did it. Um,
You
but
could Google it.
you can while I'm talking, I guess. But
Okay.
I more want to talk about. You don't have to, because
Okay.
I more specifically want to talk about a film that precedes Halloween that is also a holiday set slasher film called Black Christmas. Um, Black Christmas is told almost exclusively from the point of view of the killer. Not like the whole story. I mean, but when it comes to the killer, we only see his eye and his hand. I believe we get his silhouette occasionally, but we never really make out who or what the killer is. Um, and the opening shot of that movie is the killer, uh, POV sneaking into the sorority house. There's a lot of parallels between Halloween and Black Christmas, including incompetent police and someone realizing that the house is actually full of dead bodies, which is a big part of Black Christmas. Black Christmas, by the way, is a fucking terrifying film. I watched that alone like 3 years ago, and it fucked me up. I had never seen it before, and it's terrifying. And I feel like I got to point out because the director of it, Bob Clark, who also did A Christmas Story and the Baby Geniuses films and Porky's. There's a filmography for you.
Hell yeah.
Uh, he gave an interview towards the end of his life where he said he talked to John Carpenter about Black Christmas, like right after it came out. Like I guess John Carpenter said, "Hey, I liked your movie, Black Christmas," and Bob Clark said, "I always thought about doing a sequel where I'd set it on Halloween." And so Bob Clark kind of claims that John Carpenter, he does not like in a vindictive way. He just says, "Oh, I kind of inspired Halloween," which is an interesting little note. But at the same time, I know that Halloween was not at all John Carpenter's idea. The producer was the one who came up with it, who said, "I want to do a movie about babysitters getting stalked by the boogeyman on Halloween." And at one point it was called the Babysitter Murders, and then they changed it to Halloween because I guess they realized that name hadn't been copywritten yet, hadn't been trademarked anyway.
Wait, was the Babysitter Murders that was copyrighted by something else?
No, I'm saying that they found out Halloween wasn't, so they
Oh.
fucking call it Halloween.
Oh, so that title's still available, right?
It was at the time, I think.
Okay.
Uh,
Because is there another movie called The Babysitter Murders now?
there probably is. I mean,
Yeah, because it's like that's like a fun kind of B movie trashy title.
there's
So
probably one called The Social Worker Murders by now. I mean, there's so many fucking slasher films made. The Part-Time Fireman Murders. Like, it just keeps getting more and more obscure. Um, but I do think John Carpenter took a lot of the techniques that are used in Black Christmas and took them and used them in Halloween. Uh, Not as a knock to John Carpenter, because I think it's. I watch those two movies back to back if you ever have the chance.
No,
Uh,
no, but I will do that now because that sounds fucking great.
Folks at home, I believe they're both on Shutter if you have Shutter right now. Um, but you can see how a lot of the techniques carried over, but John Carpenter uses them in very different ways, and the opening is one of the best examples of this. Because we in Black Christmas, it is unmistakable that it is the killer in the opening. We know from the start that that's who is the heavy breathing. You got everything. In Halloween, we're slow. We don't even realize it's a POV shot at first. We think it's an establishing shot, and then we slowly realize it's a POV shot, and then we slowly realize it's the POV shot of someone up to no good, and we could probably make the leap that he's probably a killer. And then only at the end is it revealed that the killer is a little boy. Um, in one of the best reveals ever.
And we're just forced to sit with that for like a minute while the camera pulls away with the theme, and that's horrifying.
I like studying the body language of the parents as the camera pulls away, and the kid just stands there with a not exactly an evil expression on his face.
Yeah, he looks like lost and confused.
Mm-hmm. And there might be a reason why he put a mask on before he did it, but we'll get into that.
You want to get into that now, or do you
No,
want? Okay.
we're not there yet.
Okay. I said this was a microcosm of the entire movie experience. Because when we're watching it, once you recognize that you're in the point of view of the killer, you're working your way in from like this huge establishing like canvas, and you start working your way into the house. The framing gets tighter and tighter and more narrow until the killing happens. Right? Like even when the mask comes on, it even like makes our viewing experience feel more like claustrophobic.
Yeah.
And once he takes the mask off and the reveal happens, right? We see like the breadth, like the width of his violence. And he just kills one person, but it's still like horrifying, you know? Like how many slasher movies don't even have like half the impact of that one scene
I
in
know.
their entire runtime? And I just think that's fuck. I'm in awe. I'm in awe of this movie.
You, the Prowler. Prowler's got a great head explosion, though. I think the Prowler ends with a head explosion.
I've never seen The Prowler. Should I?
You don't need to, unless you're in the slasher films. I had a phase.
Just in the garbage.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that's a movie where they try to have that there's a red herring that the guy in the wheelchair might be the killer.
Oh, okay. So I'm gonna watch this like tonight.
And you're like, no, it like doesn't work at all. If you have Shudder, Joe Bob Briggs with the last drive-through, last drive-in, I mean, not drive-through.
That's the next slasher right there. The last drive-through.
The last drive-through. He just stands in the drive-through window and then kills his victims, but then it becomes a problem because the cars just line up.
But it's in LA, so everyone no one recognizes it. Everyone just gets really mad at the lines.
No, yes, but he can't leave the window, so he gets like two because it's one of those weird Burger Kings that has like the two drive-through windows. That I don't know why they still have them because they never use both of them anymore. But, the one just has boxes stacked in it. Yeah, the last drive-through coming to theaters. Never.
2019.
Yes.
Thanks, Blumhouse.
Yeah, Blumhouse, hit me up, buddy. gotta get that Blumhouse. How about that Blumhouse?
Well, be thankful they Well, I don't know if we should be thankful yet, but they're the reason the next Halloween got made.
Yeah, I'm not sure yet, but
Hmm.
I'm interested.
I'm hopeful.
Hopeful.
I like David Gordon Green, but let's stick to this one. I'm sorry to get us off track a little bit.
Oh, getting off track. That's great.
The movie was shot by director of photography Dean Cundy. I'm a huge fan of his. He's known for working on the first Jurassic Park, Halloween, Escape from New York.
Who Framed
Did he
Roger
do the
Rabbit?
who? Oh yeah. Did he do the Fog? Am I thinking of someone else?
He might have. I'm not sure who did the Fog.
Okay.
That's
Well,
got
he
a
did
lot.
a fuck ton of really great movies.
He did most of Carpenter's stuff.
Yeah, he's done a fuck ton of great stuff, and he hasn't done a fuck ton of great stuff in a while. He's done a lot of stuff recently.
He did Jack and Jill.
Yes, and
Got
I don't know what happened.
to get that paycheck.
I don't know if he's an asshole or maybe he pissed someone off.
The theory because this isn't the first like old cinematographer I've seen go this way. I've heard there's been a problem with older cinematographers adapting to digital filmmaking.
Oh, that could make sense.
I've heard that's been a big part of it, but I don't know.
Not to again derail, but there's this great THR roundtable. Those things kind of annoy me with the interviewers, but when the interviewers let the artists talk about their craft and stuff,
The
it's
interviewer
fascinating.
could just shut the fuck up for 5 minutes.
Yeah,
and let them.
it's just one. There's one who's like intrusive as fuck, but the other one's okay.
I guess it's the one I always fucking get when I want to.
Yeah, we know exactly what we're thinking of. But Robert Elswit was on the last one for the early 2018 one this year, and he's tried to start the conversation about film versus digital, and everyone else has kind of like rolled their eyes and just like, oh boy.
Mm-hmm.
And like Roger Deakins is like, I'm tired of this conversation already. Like, because everyone else like they like working in both formats. Deakins is pro digital now, but Elswit was saying like he couldn't figure out how to not make his digital stuff look not clinical. And they're just like, just take out the fill light, like move some stuff around, and like they have like these really basic responses because they've adapted.
Were they dunking on each other?
They're dunking on Elswit. I felt bad because he was just like he was kind of asking, but he was also kind of like old manning it, like back in my day with film, film. I like the way that looks. And it's like I could see that happening for a lot of older DPs.
I still argue film is better projected.
Well, because no one knows how to fucking project shit.
Yeah, no one knows at all. But if you get a chance to see a film projected, it's great.
New Beverly coming back, December 2018.
Yeah, boy, I'm on the other side of the country.
It's okay, I get to go see stuff projected properly again.
Yeah.
I'm excited. Woo!
There's been this United Artists Theater near where I live that's actually been doing some film projection. So I've caught some like classic films, but I have to drive like a fucking hour to go see it.
I'm in LA and I still have to drive an hour to go to the New Beverly.
Yeah, you live on the same block as the New Beverly and you still have to drive an hour.
Yeah. Well, half an hour if there's like no traffic, so
All right.
God bless America. I never seen Halloween projected though anywhere.
That could be interesting.
Yeah, I really want it. I want that.
Halloween? No, that was The Shining and Twister. You remember Twister?
Yeah, I just remember Bill Paxton's in it. I saw that when I was like 10.
It's heading right for us. It's already here. He's not in it for the science. Twister fucking sucks, man. But they're at a drive-through at one point, and for a second I thought the movie they were watching was Halloween, but I think it's The Shining.
Oh, there's another movie that makes a guest appearance in this. John Carpenter
two
is
movies.
a huge.
Two movies.
Oh, two?
Yeah.
John Carpenter is a big Howard Hawks fan. I don't think I've ever seen a Howard Hawks movie in my life.
What?
But yeah.
Well, go fucking watch one.
So, I guess two of his productions cameo in this. At least one of them's a Howard Hawks movie.
One cameo's in it.
Okay, what's the other one?
Well, the Thing from Another World cameos. That's Howard Hawks, which he produced but did not direct. But everyone.
Oh, okay, no. So I've seen a produced Howard Hawks movie.
But everyone says he ghost directed it.
Mm.
And the other film in this is Forbidden Planet, which is a movie about the id taking form and attacking people. which I don't know why John Carpenter would put that in this Halloween film. I can't imagine. Can't imagine why. You ever see Forbidden Planet, man?
Long ago.
Oh man, Forbidden Planet rules. Just gotta get past the horrible sexism.
That's like that's fucking everywhere back then. Like I started watching Dick Van Dyke Show recently because it was on Netflix,
Oh
and I was
no.
like, "Oh, this is hilarious," but the gender stuff is kind of uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's a lot of that stuff.
Yeah,
Um, Good thing we live in this post-gender paradise.
yeah, where nothing is wrong and all people are equal.
Everything's going great.
I don't want to fucking
It's
kill the president.
it's going so great right now. I've never felt better about any moment
I
in.
truly believe in the institutions that are here to protect the citizens.
I think things are here to stay, and that's a good thing. The system works.
Let's talk about the system failures that have failed Michael Myers.
Yeah.
Or was he beyond saving?
Well, according to Dr. Loomis, he was beyond saving. Um, in reality, that's probably not true. Because according to Dr. Loomis, he says in the film that he was, I believe, Michael Myers was 6 years old when he killed his sister. Was he 6 or 7?
Yeah.
Um, Dr. Loomis spent the first 8 years trying to talk to him. So he talked to the kid until he was 16, and then at that point he decided this kid's beyond help, and then spent 7 years trying to keep him locked up. So Michael Myers escapes when he's 23. Uh, you can't make an official diagnosis on someone at age 16. It's not even allowed usually. Like, I don't think you can diagnose someone with like schizophrenia until they're at least 25. Because your brain isn't fully formed yet. You're a developing person. So I think Dr. Loomis might have made some mistakes.
Yeah, don't say.
That's one reading. One reading of this you can take is that Michael he definitely has issues. One that he might have had a deep psychosis. You can actually, there's enough pieces in the opening to maybe put together that he had neglectful parents who are not around on Halloween night for some reason, and I guess he was trick or treating alone, which is a sad thought. Um, and he's observing his sister with a boyfriend before he murders her, so you could maybe extrapolate that he's possessive of his sister, and also he murders his sister while she's in the nude, which could add a whole sex element to the thing, which that could be a problem if you're underdeveloped. Uh, so he could have just been a kid with some problems, and Dr. Loomis instead decided he was the embodiment of all evil, and then reinforced that idea in the kid's head for the next 7 years. So now the kid breaks out thinking he's the embodiment of evil, and desperately craves the humanity he doesn't have, which is why he feels the need to don a blank, expressionless human mask. Because he doesn't exactly wear a Halloween costume. He wears a human face as a mask. The other thing is that Michael Myers is the embodiment of pure evil, and it kind of started driving Loomis crazy to have to deal with. So those are the two readings you can give. Well, the filmmaker John Carpenter seems to believe that Michael Myers is the embodiment of evil.
There we go. Yeah, I think that's the general like consensus, but mostly just because a lot of people don't really talk about the specifics of like Halloween. A lot of people just say like, "Whoa, it's one of the scariest movies ever made," which it is. Like no taking that away. But look at like the impact of what's going on between these people in this movie, and I think there's whether or not John Carpenter intended it or otherwise, I think is kind of it doesn't. It's not really essential by this point. At least I'd argue that.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're right, 16 years old. That's not a human being yet. That's a child,
I'm gonna say
a teenager, but still.
Halloween is very interesting because it's a product of its time where we believe that people just go crazy and kill people. We don't know what a serial killer is in the 70s, but we know they exist. But we haven't given them a clinical name. So for all we know, they are evil, and that there are people like this, and they're common. That there's really nothing that odd about Michael Myers in the context of the culture in which this film was made in. Now, fucking 40 years out, we can look back with a whole new perspective and interpret it just as accurately as all the things kind of line up to today still, and you can get a completely different reading of the film. I disagree on the lack of discussion though. I think Halloween is one of the most discussed horror films online in terms of like what led to what, and there's a big online fan community for Halloween. I know because I might have been a part of it when I was 13.
Well, maybe I'm just not seeing as much of it as I'd like to.
You're no longer in the age of like forums. Everyone's on Twitter now.
Yeah,
forums are so much better. Where you just go to a place being like, hey, we all like fucking Halloween. Let's talk about it.
And on Twitter, it's great because they're like, I like this thing. You're like, fuck you.
Yeah, that's exactly.
You fucking
You
waste.
fucking moron.
Yeah.
Oh, like Halloween. Go fuck yourself.
Actually, it's overrated, and the movie's not even that scary. There's no blood, so it's not scary.
Halloween 3 is better. I'm a very smart person. I love being on Twitter because someone can be like, hey, Empire Strikes Back is actually not that good. And I can be like, you can fucking fuck off. Yeah, I get it. You're really smart because you fucking get a lot out of Revenge of the Sith or Solo, you fucking losers. I've been seeing some discussion on Twitter lately that's been getting under my skin.
Well, okay.
As you can tell, this is where
clearly.
This is where I kind of vent about those things. Shout out to Dan Doherty, or whatever his name is.
Dan Doherty.
How fucking old are you, Dan? You're too young to be talking to me. I'm a horribly jaded adult. You got some innocence.
He still has his whole life ahead of him, and we're like defeated.
He hasn't reached that moment where he realizes that all the films he's consuming are completely worthless and will not improve his life.
Aw. I don't believe that.
Dan,
I don't believe that, Dan.
Dan, none of this will save you.
I spent 8 years trying to reach him, and then another 7 trying to keep him locked up because I realized that what was living behind that boy's eyes was purely and simply evil. I think he'll come back.
Exploring uncharted territory.
Totally charted.
Just talk.
Sure. The only reason she babysits is to have
Halloween.
He's, Dr. Loomis is kind of an irresponsible authority figure. What if Dr. Loomis was a Jordan Peters? Evil has come to your little town, Sheriff. Blank expression on his eyes.
That's the photo for this now, right?
Jordan Peters.
Jordan Peterson is Dr. Loomis.
I met him 15 years ago. I was told there was nothing left. No reason, no conscious understanding. I spent 8 years trying to reach him and then another 7 trying to keep him locked up forever. I realized they're living behind those boys' eyes was purely and simply evil.
That would make perfect sense in today's age.
Oh, yeah. Oh, fuck yeah.
That's what Dr. Loomis would be doing. He'd be vlogging. Trying to convince us that to clean our rooms and that evil exists. Oh, God.
And then he'd continue praising the Book of Henry.
Yeah, oh, God. Does he like it?
Yeah.
I know that Oh yeah, we did talk about that, and then I fucking like called him Lobster Man. Uh, of course. I think the Book of Henry is the type of film Dr. Loomis would make, because murder is justified in that. Violence is a redemptive act, Diego. Did you know that? That's why we all constantly commit violence against each other.
It's all justified.
It's not
Oh,
that's Starship Troopers, where they're like everything we do is force, and force is violence. So that's why violence is like the key to all of society. That's a good movie.
that's a very good movie.
It has fuck all to do with Halloween though. So,
No.
um, so, uh, so how do you view Michael Myers?
He's someone who was let down by society. We live in a society,
We
Matt,
live in a society.
and we let him down. No, but I mean, he's a little boy who's clearly like going through something. Of course, we're seeing this through like you said, like our modern lens into like this kind of material. But I don't think there's anything wrong with reading it that way now. You know, it was more simplistic back then. Even if they just didn't understand it, it comes across as that, and that's not a bad thing either for the time. But I think we've also kind of moved past clear cut serial killers and motivations, so to speak. I think it's more complex an issue that was going on with Michael Myers, and no one helped him.
This is an interesting point because I also think this movie is very much a statement against ignorance. Because this is actually brought up in Nick Spear's video a little bit, but I've seen it in the film where, by the end of the movie, like, Michael Myers is not even credited as Michael Myers in this. He's referred to as the Shape. So he's not even like a real thing. He's not even dignified with like a human name, but throughout the movie he's referred to as the Boogeyman, which, the Boogeyman isn't real.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be seen that, and there's like all these legends about the Myers house, like, don't go up to it. It's creepy. And because it's kind of a statement, like, about how if you don't educate your kids about the shit that happens in the real world, it might come back to bite him in the ass. Because by the end, Lori absolutely believes that she was attacked by the Boogeyman, because that's the only way she can process what happened to her that night.
Yeah. And Loomis confirms that to her.
Yeah, so he's not helping.
Yeah, no, fuck this guy.
Yeah. So Loomis, yeah, he's more of a problem than a help.
And like when I was younger, I was like, oh yeah, he's like the hero. And now I'm just like, this fucking guy. This is all his fault.
I think my favorite,
maybe not all of it, but
one of my favorite things I've ever done is I go to those Halloween Horror Nights like as often as I can, which are at Universal Studios in Florida. I don't know if they do it in Hollywood.
Yeah, they do. I really like it.
They're really cool, and they did Halloween 1 year as a house, which, like, if you've seen the movie, you're like, how the fuck do you a haunted house about it? And it's to do all the scenes from the movie and to just make shit up that didn't happen in the movie. But that's fine. But the last room is Dr. Loomis shooting Michael Myers. So it's like literally an actor like will pop out of the corner and shoot him 6 times and then go back to where he was standing.
Oh, that's amazing.
It was the most hysterical thing I've ever seen. And then when they did Halloween 2, like a year later, that was the opening of that haunted house. So they repeat things at Horror Nights, but it was great.
Oh, still related to that, this year for Halloween Horror Nights, they're doing Halloween 4. Specifically, Halloween 4.
Hey.
The Return of Michael Myers.
You could do that.
You could, but why?
Well, I don't know. They're doing something where they did They did Halloween 2. I'm guessing they didn't do Halloween 3.
Oh, that one would have been fucking great.
That would have been great.
But no one fucking gets that movie.
Yeah, no one would. It would confuse the fucking shit out of everyone.
Yeah.
But Halloween 4. I mean, I don't know. They're doing all the films, I guess.
But like, did they do like 1 and 2 the previous years, like recently?
That's what I just fucking said.
Well, no, I didn't know how long ago this was that you went.
I don't know. 2 years ago was the last time I went. I think they did Halloween 2 then, so it
Oh,
lines
okay.
up.
Okay, I guess it does. It's just because I didn't know that. It just feels so odd,
Mhm.
like to just toss in Halloween 4: The Return of Michael Myers for the year where they're actually making another Halloween movie to me.
I think it's because that's the only one of those like slashers they own.
Uh,
I think the one year they did do like a bunch of different ones, but they had to like get permission to do it. And then since then and I think they own Chucky too, so there's usually a Child's Play one. Um, I'm really glad Universal is now going to reboot the Child's Play franchise.
yeah, because it's not like they're still making them, and they're not like a lucrative franchise
It's
for
not.
their budget size.
It's not like the last two have been really fucking good.
Yeah.
You fucks. Don't put. I hope Brad Dourif doesn't do it.
No, I think everyone who has been working on these new movies is kind of like, fuck off.
Yeah, I would hope. Brad Dourif
Yeah.
seems pretty loyal.
Yeah. Well, also, they're not using like a serial killer. It's going to be a malfunctioning doll. So it's just like another killer doll movie.
Oh, that's fun. That sounds fun. It almost sounds like they had another Killer Doll script laying around and they were just like, put Child's Play on it. It's almost like all they actually own is the Child's Play name.
It's funny that you mentioned that. Now, I like killer doll stuff. I don't want to see this one because of that.
Yeah,
It's fucking stupid.
Yeah, I don't mind Killer Doll movies. They haven't made a good one in a while.
No, they did. Well, I like the Puppet Master movies now, I've realized. Even most of them are like really bad. But like that's my sweet spot. That's a biased opinion if there ever was one.
Fucking
But I get people
Sci-Fi.
not liking those.
The fucking Sci-Fi Channel. Fucking hype the shit out of Puppet Masters versus Demonic Toys.
I haven't seen that one, though.
I fucking bought into it and I like waited all day to watch it. So when you watch that at some point in your life and then wonder why you did, just understand that a 9-year-old Matt waited all day to watch it. And it was a very, as you would wait for a new episode of Avatar: The Last Airbender. They were about equally as important to me at the time.
Oh, no.
Sci-Fi Channel marathons and cartoons. There's a weird things going on at the same time.
The puppets are Nazi assassins now, which is...
That's fine.
Yeah. It's a big change.
Isn't that the first movie, though? I fucking barely remember the first puppet movie.
Okay. It establishes that the puppets are good or evil depending on who the owner is and what they're set out to do. Like, they're basically as good as the person who controls them.
Yeah, I've heard that, and I also heard that it was the family. Like, the family, whatever. Fuck the puppet, let's not fucking talk. The fucking Puppet Masters. Oh, Christ. We're good. We don't need to talk about the fucking Puppet Masters.
No. Retrospective coming next March.
Fuck no. Do we want to talk about Laurie Strode?
I just blanked on the actress's name. And I don't have it in my notes.
I'm going to give you a minute.
Jamie Lee Curtis?
Jamie Lynn Spears?
No.
Yeah, you got it right.
Okay. I can't. That's never happened. Well, that probably has happened, but oh my god, that was scary. A lot of people refer to her as one of the original Scream Queens. They are right to do so.
She does a lot of screaming in this.
There's a lot of screaming. But I had kind of forgotten, like, she's actively, like, fighting against Michael, like, during the finale. Like, it's never...
She does drop the knife twice. Which I've heard even Jamie Lee Curtis is, like, pissed about that.
Yeah. But, no, that's a great character.
This is, she's hot off an episode of Columbo where she played a waitress for 2 minutes. So this was, like, her big breakout.
after her previous big breakout on Columbo.
Yes. Yeah, if you're on Columbo, you've made it. That's not true. Columbo's full of people who all they ever did was Columbo.
Oh.
I just think Spielberg directed the first episode of Columbo, and then no one who directed any of the other episodes ever went on to do anything.
Oh no.
So, hey, whatever. No, she's really good in this. But she's always referred to as like, the virginal, like, last girl. Like, that's kind of where you get this stereotype from, I think.
Yeah.
I honestly think you get it more from Friday the 13th, because Friday the 13th just blatantly copied every detail of Halloween.
Except it sucks.
Friday the 13th is fine. It's fine. It's a campfire horror movie. It's fine.
I don't hate it. I don't want to come across that way. Just like
it's just nowhere in the same league.
Yeah, like I don't care about them.
Yeah.
I'll get into it later when we talk about trashy horror sequels in this series, but there's a point where I could care.
But
not here.
Laurie isn't totally innocent. She smokes weed in this.
Oh. Living on the edge.
Look out, Jeff Sessions coming after you.
Oh wait, Jeff Sessions is scarier than Michael Myers.
Yeah, but don't worry, Laurie, you're white.
So she's good.
You're good. You're good. He'll let it slide. And then maybe you can sit on the Supreme Court. Anyway, we should point out her friend's name is Annie Brackett. Is that it?
I don't know.
Well, I don't remember her first name, but her last name is definitely Brackett, and her father is the sheriff named Lee Brackett, who is named after the screenwriter, Lean Brackett, who was the woman who did the first draft on Empire Strikes Back.
Woo!
Also wrote a bunch of westerns, which is probably where Carpenter knew her from, and also was the queen of the space opera. I gotta tie all these things together.
No. I mean, with that, we've hit all those beats in previous retrospectives. Makes sense.
I brought up serial killers. And
we've come full circle.
Star Wars, and now Jordan Peters, I guess.
Jordan Peters is going to be like our arch nemesis on this show.
Yeah. He's our Michael Myers, I guess.
Yeah. Like every retrospective needs like a big bad, and the world is full of them. So for this retrospective series, it's Jordan Peterson.
Yeah, he's just low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
Much
like the quality of the rest of these movies. Mm-hmm. Well, not all of them, but a handful.
I like these movies. This is actually my favorite slasher franchise.
Low bar, but I can kind of agree. I can't think of anything else that comes close, which is saying a lot.
I don't know, all the Nightmare on Elm Street movies are really...
Oh, fuck, never mind. No, I'm more of a Nightmare guy.
Yeah,
apart from the first and third Halloween and Halloween 2 of this Nightmare for me, for sure.
You like Halloween 2?
I like one of the Halloween 2s, and I'll leave it at that for now.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Because either way, we're having a fight.
Come on out.
Laurie is definitely afraid of sex in this. I mean, it's very underlined in this story. Because her friend sets her up on a date with the one guy. And she's like, oh, don't do that. And all her other friends, they cannot stop talking about sex. Which is not something I don't think that should be frowned upon.
I agree with you.
Because you're fucking a high schooler. You're excited. Although act like you've been around the bases a few times is all I'm saying. How about when fucking Michael Myers puts that ghost costume on?
Fuck that.
That was fucking scary, man.
Fuck that.
That was so scary. What the fuck? That didn't bother you?
Yeah, no, it's scary as fuck.
I thought you were like, fuck that as in, that's a bad scene.
No, by the ending, the movie's just like this nightmare where like shadows are like overcoming everyone's faces and you can barely make out what's happening. like intentionally and in a good way.
My violent screaming has destroyed all meaning of the F word. I destroy vulgarity. But no, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
He put the glasses on outside, so that's some commitment.
Yeah, like I like that. That could also be two readings. Like he's still trying to like find some semblance of like a human face, or he's just like fucking with her by that point.
Michael Myers likes fucking with people.
Yeah,
that's like all these movies. He likes fucking with people, which can also tie into a serial killer thing, which is that serial killers they get bored very easily just killing people, which is why there tends to be breaks between when they murder people. Or they start getting more and more violent. And maybe for Michael Myers to mix it up, he's got to play some jokes. Which is why he stole that headstone and somehow carried it around with him all day and got it into that house.
Yeah, and you know what? I fucking love stuff like that.
It's
you know
fine.
why? Because I don't need it to make sense in real world. This is a movie. How did he do it? You're right. He carried it around all day. Yeah. We didn't see it because it's not important.
It's not important.
There you go.
Yeah, that's the reality that this film set up.
Yeah.
How did John Goodman burn the hotel down in Barton Fink? You don't need to know exactly.
Yeah. What does it mean for the movie and the story and the scene and there's fucking million moving pieces in a movie?
Yeah.
Sorry, it's not going to be realistic in every moment of it.
Plot hole.
Fuck CinemaSins.
Yeah, those guys are funny.
I'll fucking shoot you in the mouth.
They go, hey, look at that. And then you go, yeah, that happened. And then you fucking die.
No, before that, there's a pre-credit sequence where they'll complain about a scene not having a lap dance if they're not clever enough to think of a joke in between.
Yeah. Yeah, fucking 20 minutes, you definitely need to work that lap dance joke in. Fucking bastards.
Fuck them.
Oh, yeah, hey. They also need to tell people how we need to stop raising awareness for breast cancer. Which reminds me of the time my friend found a tumor in her breast and she called me sobbing. And I had to talk about that. So yeah, breast cancer is not a problem!
Wait, did they actually say that?
They when they were testing out their CinemaSins thing, they basically did the same formula, but like used it to complain about other things.
Oh God!
One of it was like, let's stop. Like it's so stupid that we do the breast cancer awareness thing during the football game because it makes the football players wear pink. And it's like,
well, now I actually hope that they. I'm not gonna say shit, but I hope harm befalls them.
I hope they realize what they're saying. That's my.
I don't think. You know what? I used to be optimistic about that. I don't care anymore.
I don't believe it'll ever.
Stop.
I don't believe it'll ever happen. But that's what my ultimate hope is. Like it's understanding how cruel you were is more satisfying than violence befalling them. It won't happen. But you know.
I agree. But if they get in like a car accident and they're like, I got to rethink my life.
Also, they made a whole video about the breast cancer awareness thing and didn't really talk about the fact that sometimes we do those breast cancer awareness during sporting events and the money doesn't actually get to these cancer groups. It's just a way for the NFL to look good while they're basically forcing their players to murder each other.
That's why The Last Boy Scout's the best football movie. But anyways, Halloween.
Sorry.
No, we just covered a lot of ground right now.
We covered a lot of ground, but let's talk about. We were talking about Michael Myers. I jumped to him putting the sheet on.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Myers' deliberate movements in this, which he has a really weird movement. Which Michael Myers in this was played by Nick Castle mostly. He was also played by pretty much everyone else on set. Including Deborah Hill and John Carpenter, I think at one point put the mask on. I think they just anyone they could when they needed him, they put the mask on. But Nick Castle did it the most, and Nick Castle famously went on to direct The Last Starfighter, which is a great 80s movie that I've also mentioned previously on this show.
Which I believe I have also mentioned as not having seen.
You should check it out. It's the book. It's the movie. The guy who wrote Ready Player One ripped off twice.
Oh, that makes perfect sense actually. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But at least the Last Starfighter is very open about how it's a wish fulfillment film.
Yeah.
But we should say that Nick Castle's Nick Castle is coming back to play Michael Myers in the new one.
Yep, and this time I believe he played it at least like 90% all the way through. He's older now, but
Yeah,
I think he did it
I,
like
th- I think he did
consistently.
it mostly too. Which is kind of like it's the exact opposite of bringing Peter Mayhew back to bleach Chewbacca for a couple scenes.
Yeah. Oh, but he's old.
Yeah,
That's a
no,
different
I
story.
love everyone. I love Peter Mayhew. I'm just give him a shout out.
Yeah.
I hope they just put him in Star Wars as himself at some point,
Oh, that'd be great.
just as a
Just like
guy.
yeah.
Fucking
So that way you can still be in it without having to like go through the whole process.
yeah, Warwick Davis was as himself in Phantom Menace, so why not?
Yeah.
But
And he came back for Solo.
yeah,
Woo!
no one cares. Anyway, we
I
could say
liked it.
that Michael Myers' movements have a very specific inspiration, which is the robotic cowboy played by Yul Brynner in the film Westworld,
Which is a great movie
which is a
for
great.
anyone who hasn't seen it.
It's like 90 minutes long.
And it's great.
You get much more out of it than you will out of the overly long, pretentious, I wish I could find a better word, but it's pretentious TV series. Westworld's a good movie. Predicted the computer virus before it happened. And so Yul Brynner's a robotic cowboy in that, and at the end of the movie, he chases our hero nonstop for like the last 30 minutes. It's a nonstop chase, and he keeps basically the same pace for most of it. And it's he is the proto slasher killer, unstoppable killer, because he's unstoppable. He's literally unstoppable. He's a robot. Michael Myers is unstoppable because he's not really human. He's an idea.
I was about to go off on a Terminator tangent, but I'm not. I'm trying to keep us like on track to finish up the episode.
Well, that's kind of the. I'll just say it is the archetype kind of going through it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just Terminator took it back to the robots, and then got boring. Anyway, Terminator's good though. Terminator's a good horror movie.
Terminator is the fucking best. That's what it is.
You know what's a really sad moment in this movie? When
Laurie finds all her friends dead.
yeah. Which
That's really fucked up.
Can you imagine a more terrifying thing to happen?
Well, because she discovers her friend strung up on the bed with the tombstone. She walks back into the doorway. A body falls from the ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
Then she goes over to the closet, and the closet opens, and another one of her friends is dead in the closet.
Yes.
It's a lot.
I think that's why I think, maybe some of the slasher elements don't hold up for some people, but I do think the last, 20 minutes of this movie are still pretty scary.
It's a different sort of scary, if that makes sense. Not because people don't get it or anything like that. I that might be part of it every once in a while, if I'm being honest. But it's because of what people get so used to with the movies that are put out nowadays.
Yes.
It's not like sanitized horror or anything like that. It's just it's almost like an algorithm you plug in to get a certain movie to come out of certain studios.
Well, let's think about some of the scare shots in this movie and compare it to how it might be done today. One that left a big impression on me as a kid was when Nancy, that's the girl's name. No, that's the actress's. Fuck it.
Nancy, just Nancy.
The first girl killed. She walks in through the back door, and the door's open, and you briefly see Michael Myers in the window on the outside, and then she walks away, and then when the camera comes back, he's gone, and you realize that means he's in the house now, and that's terrifying. The other one I think about is after Laurie discovers all her friends murdered, now she realizes that something is fucking up. But it has no embodiment. She doesn't know that it is a killer. She backs into a corner, And brilliant lighting, they slowly turn the light up above Michael Myers, and his face slowly becomes, you can slowly make out the shape of his face. And then you go, and then he tries to stab her. So it's like this
Oh my god,
slow.
that's
Or just think of the suspense. I mean, we talk about the first act of this film taking place during daytime, and that's like really interesting because most horror movies don't like do just kind of like basic daytime. But it kind of adds this weird suspense of you're waiting for it to get dark. And I think it adds this interesting suspense element to the whole film.
and once it gets dark, it really just doesn't stop.
Yeah.
It's a pretty vicious movie. Like there's really not a lot of blood, like barely any in this.
And now let's think
fuck.
about how they would do these scares today. Cut to that clip from the new Halloween trailer where Michael Myers appears in the closet, and it's a very loud music sting when he pops up. So yeah,
You know what? That's still more inventive than like half the fucking slasher
Oh, it
movies
is.
like ever made.
yeah. Well,
Like
it's
that's fun.
They
That's fun. That's not quality of like John Carpenter scares because you just can't really touch that. But that's fun, you know.
they stopped going
And that's
for
fun in like a creative
scares.
way, not in like a I don't have anything better to do with my afternoon. You know?
They stopped going for scares at all at some point, and they just became about violence.
Yeah, which is a bummer.
Which
That kind of happens with like all these franchises we talk about, I guess. But
Yeah. Which in a post legalized torture world, we're no longer bothered by violence. So hey, I had to bring it back to the war on terror.
no, I'm not stopping you. I'm uncomfortable with the truth.
Yeah, hey, that's what people come to me for some reason.
The man ain't gonna hold you down.
Here's a true story. Someone I hadn't seen in a while came up to me at a wedding once and asked what I'd been up to, and I said, I've been reading a book about how Al Qaeda formed, and then I proceeded to talk for 30 minutes about how Al Qaeda formed. So that's me.
I did that with the history of the X-Men one time, so.
You fucking nerd. I one time went on about the Flintstones way too long, so I guess that's even worse. This fucking gives a fuck.
Okay, you're gonna be fucking furious at me right now, but I have to compare one movie I saw, or two movies actually I saw this year, that reminded me of some general creativity
Say
with their
Jurassic
horror
World
set
and
pieces.
die. Don't say it. I know.
I'll say one
Don't say it.
movie.
Don't say it. Don't you fucking dare. Don't say Jurassic World. If you utter those words, I'll fucking end you.
The Strangers Prey at Night is
Okay.
generally pretty inventive with the way it uses lighting and shadows and its horror set. There's a little like shock factor, like dun, shung, because every fucking horror movie has that nowadays. But also, a lot of people talked about Hereditary. Hereditary is fucking great. I never want to watch it again. If you want to watch inventive, really depressing but very creative horror set pieces, watch Hereditary. Just know you're getting a really fucked up movie, and I didn't know that going in, so that's why I feel uncomfortable watching it.
Hereditary is the most I've laughed at a movie all year. Not to say it's not. It is definitely really fucked up, but something was up in my head that day, and I couldn't stop laughing.
But also, The Strangers Prey at Night, I didn't really hear people talking about it, and I was actually surprised. I was like, holy shit, just a quality B-level slasher movie with idiots for main characters, but really creative horror stuff. Like you could tell they watched a shitload of John Carpenter before filming it. Because it's just like, it's a John Carpenter movie, not made by John Carpenter. Like the way the camera moves, and like when people say a movie has good cinematography, it means more than just the pictures are pretty, you know? It means like the camera's actually motivated and it's actually informing the audience of what's occurring in the scene with you. And with horror, a lot of that territory comes with lights and shadows.
And it knows.
So to bring it back to Halloween, that is the entire finale of the movie.
Yeah, good cinematography knows when to hit you with its images and not to make that the entire movie so you get numb to it by the end.
Yeah.
Not naming any names.
Just say it. Just say it.
No, because everyone will hate me.
Say it.
Mandy didn't do anything for me.
Okay, that's fair.
But I'm sure, you know what though? I know I'm wrong. It didn't work for me.
Okay.
There's movies you walk out of and you go, that went over my head. Same with Beyond the Black Rainbow, which I've enjoyed reading a lot about, and I don't think I care to ever watch it again. But I might watch Once Upon a Time in America 3 times this week. So there goes 12 hours.
Yeah, I mean, how much more can we say about Halloween? It's just like, it's kind of the peak slasher. There's really nothing else that might be able to touch it until like the Craven era.
There really is so much to talk about that I feel like we will miss something. So.
Oh, probably, but I mean, like right now,
thankfully, we have a lot of really bland sequels that we could just keep coming back to this one.
Woo!
One thing I do want to point out again that is a really interesting moment for me is that, you know, there's the scene we see Michael Myers' face in this, which I think is at a point in the movie we're revealed that he is just a man, and he is so desperate. He gets his mask knocked off, and then he puts it back on, and he's so desperate to put that mask on, he basically lets himself get shot.
Yeah, and that happens right at the very end, before like what should be like the heroic Kazaa moment, you know, or whatever how people fucking react. I don't know how people react to this shit, but like that should be like almost a cheerworthy moment, you know.
It's a really weird moment. A lot of mixed emotions in it, where you think a lot about Michael Myers and what he has become or what he's decided to embody. And it's pretty depressing. Also, I think he got stabbed in the eye, but we definitely don't see that wound. So that's an interesting thing.
Oh, no, he gets stabbed in the neck, I think.
He gets stabbed in the neck, but he gets a hanger in his eye.
Oh, fuck, that's right. Yeah, that's why he drops the knife. Okay, you're right.
Which might be one of the most intense scenes ever.
Oh, fuck yeah.
And then he gets shot 6 times by Dr. Loomis, and he falls out a window, but then he's not there. And we just hear his breathing and see all the locations, and now he is everywhere.
That fucked me up watching that this time.
That
really sank into me, like into my core. And I was like, oh shit. John Carpenter, you sick motherfucker.
It's creepy.
It's at its core, Halloween is a point A to point B slasher, but then you realize there's like 8.1, 8.2, 8.3, and like all these little pieces moving in between that little destination. It's not a complex movie.
Well, think about how I described how the producers wanted to do this, which was the babysitter murders set on Halloween. Mm-hmm. Think of how that sounds like every other slasher film ever made. And think about how much this stands out from the rest. Even though it precedes a lot of them, it still stands out. And that's because there's a lot more going on. If you think about the movie you're making, you can make it more than just a generic slasher film. Which is something I think some filmmakers should think about. You should probably think about, you know, the politics of your film or the context, and don't try to say you're apolitical, because that's usually just means boring.
You're either boring or you're saying some fucked up shit, and you don't want to you don't want to have a discussion about it.
I'm not even willing to say that. I just think people who...
I'll say that.
I know, no, but I'm just saying, most people who try to make apolitical work, like that's their intention, they end up making really boring films. That's just something I think needs to be pointed out. Oh no, the Flyers are losing. Fucking get Gritty on the ice.
Gritty. And then cut to the last little bit of the trailer.
Defender of the workers, Gritty.
We are a pro-Gritty podcast.
Everyone, if you're not pro-Gritty, get the fuck out of my house. I know the guy who invented Gritty.
Really?
Yes. But that's
something.
But that is a story for another podcast.
For this podcast, I just want to say on the record that, Matt, I will pay you human money to watch Fallen Kingdom.
I don't care. I fucking want to watch it.
I will send you a copy.
All right, you can take a guess. I don't think I need to say what will happen.
You will burn it.
I might do a couple things to it.
You might eat it. I don't know.
I might do something that's at least filmable.
Oh, that's too bad because you will have a reaction to it that is not Jurassic World.
I don't care. I can't. It'll take 10 years before I can visit it.
All right, I'll wait patiently.
Okay.
Where can people find you?
Why'd you gotta make me all angry, man? What's with people making me angry? Everyone's getting on old Matt Gringo's case. And just let me be. I'm at EmperorOTN at Twitter.com and YouTube.
And you can follow me on Twitter at DEWGWaffles, Waffle Press. Like, subscribe, check out my writings at Talk Film Society because it's spooky season. And we're going to be doing a whole retrospective on the entire Halloween franchise.
Yay!
It's a lot.
Also,
see, it's funny because we're starting right when the new movie comes out.
Yep. This is great timing, Diego.
Yeah. Like, there's no way we were going to do a fucking dozen movies immediately after The Predator.
It wasn't like we had some very bad strategizing initially with the Predator films. Also, to everyone listening, I might be resurrecting a podcast this Halloween season.
Oh, are you really? Are you actually?
Happy Halloween.
We've been professionally unprofessional.
Halloween, the night he came home.